Guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. Today I'm going to show you how I've went from playing off a 28 handicap as a beginner to now playing off a 10 handicap in just under 3 years. But I'm going to show you my tips that I went through over the course of the 3 years, and hopefully I can try and help you guys out to try and get a lower handicap as well. But this is just what's worked for me personally, so hopefully you can take some of this on board and hopefully it does help you out. But anyway, let's get straight to it. So tip number one is you don't always have to use driver. You do not always have to use driver. But anyway, as a high handicapper, what I originally would have always done was I would have always picked the driver out once I seen it was a par 4. If it was a par 4, par 5, it was always in my hand. So for instance, look at this hole. We have a par 4 playing 283 yards. Most high handicap golfers are going to lean towards the driver just to try and get it down the fairway. The smart plan and the smart play here is play an iron shot. So I've got a 6 iron in hand, and to play the safer option, I think playing a 6 iron, I know I can hit this fairly straight. It will get me straight down the fairway, and I'll have a reasonable and easy enough second shot in. Where if I play the driver, I have a bunker to the right, I have trees to the left if I snap hook it, and I also have trees to the right as well, which a lot of the time that will put me behind the trees if I slice it. Most high handicap golfers do tend to slice. I also tend to slice the driver as well. So tip number one is not always use a driver when you're on the tee box playing a par 4 or par 5. Always try and get the course management in and try and play some iron shots down the fairway as well. It's not always about the driver. So that's tip number one. So following up on tip number one, as I said, if I play the driver on this hole, I will 90% of the time be down behind the trees to the right hand side, and which means I would then have to play a second shot out trying to get it back in the fairway, get it in play, and then have another shot trying to go for the green, which means I'd be going for the green in 3, which would make it hard for me to get a par. So tip number one, I'm going to play a 6 iron. This is what I would do now to try and get my course management better and just try and lower my handicap. And that is bang centre down the fairway. And that will leave me probably about 100 to 100, I'd say maybe 100 yards in, if not maybe a little bit less than that. But that is bang centre in the fairway. That's exactly where you want it to be, guys. And yeah, that's tip number one I'd be definitely giving the high handicappers. Par 4 and it's playing 300, 320, 330 yards. You do not always have to go to driver. Revert to an iron. It will be the safer option and it will definitely lower your handicap. So that's tip number one. Tip number two I would definitely highly recommend is a lot of high handicap golfers struggle with their wedges. So when I say struggle with their wedges, a lot of the time they can have their shaft too straight or they can have it leant back, which then can cause thin shots. Tip number two I would definitely highly recommend. I'm left with a 60-yard shot to the pin. One of the easiest shots to probably play in this hole would be, in this situation, I have a bunker to the left and a bunker to the right. I have a straight fairway through the middle. The pin is slightly to the right of the green. I would probably play an 8 iron bump and run. But whenever I was a 28 handicap, a high handicapper, my go-to club was pitch and wedge, which then could have went a little bit slicey right into the bunker, or it could have put me at the back of the green, or if it would have hit a 56 or a 58 degree, I could have duffed my shot, which could have went about 20 yards, or it still could have went right into the bunker, which means I'd be playing shot free out of the bunker, which isn't great. So tip number two, I'd definitely recommend within a 60 yard range, something similar to this. I would play an 8 iron, maybe 9 iron bump and run. And this should go up the green nicely. And there we have it, guys. We're at the front of the green. 2 putt for there for par. I really highly recommend playing a bump and run shot if you have a shot similar to this within 50-60 yards. So tip number 3, guys, I would definitely highly consider is the dreaded bunker shot. The dreaded shot where you have to play over a bunker. A lot of people hate this shot. I used to hate it myself as a high handicapper. It used to put me in a lot of crazy things come through my head. But the tip I would definitely say on this one would be, don't always revert to your wedge. Do not always revert to your wedge. Your wedge can sometimes get caught in the grass. It also depends on lie angle, how your ball sits, etc. But with the way my ball's currently sitting at the minute, I would definitely recommend using between a 9 and an 8 iron do the nice little bump and run over the bunker. You don't need to hit it hard, you can hit it like a putting stroke a little bit more. But with a wedge, you're going to have to get underneath it, you're going to have to try and get it up, which then can make your club tangle in the grass, and then you can sometimes fin it as well, or sometimes duff it, which will just go into the bunker. So a wedge, like a 58, 56, 50, whatever, it's not going to be the call. That's what I used to always revert to whenever I played off a 28 handicap. So what I would recommend is throw the wedge away. We don't need that. Would be a 9-iron in this situation for me at the minute. So I know with a 9-iron I'm going to have more control. I know I'm going to be able to get it over the bunker. I know I might be able to get it to hit the front of the green and just let it roll out. Forward roll as it hits the green as well. With a wedge, it's just going to stop. So the ball is midway in the grass. I know if I just hit something a little bit more than the putting stroke, I'll be able to get it up and just get it under the green. And just like that, guys, that's probably going to be about 5 feet, 6 feet from the pin, 5 or 6 foot from the pin. So as I say, you don't always need to revert to a wedge. Don't do it. It's going to get you in a lot of trouble. It's going to get you in a bunker. You're going to fin it, you're going to chunk it, you're going to fat it, whatever. A wedge is not always the call. In that case, a 9-iron was perfect for me. An 8-iron would have done something similar, near enough the same job. So whenever you're facing your dreaded bunker shots where you have to go over, do not hit a wedge. You do not always need to hit a wedge. 9-iron was the call for me. This will definitely lower your score, lower your handicap overall. So I definitely recommend not always using a wedge. Tip number 4, guys, I definitely think a lot about this, and I think a lot of high handicap golfers don't actually consider this, and they just go and play the round of golf. They hit a couple of balls in the range and they think that's enough, but it's not. One of the things I would definitely recommend is knowing your club yardages, knowing how far you hit each club in each condition, weather-wise. Write it down, go to the range, write each yardage down, each kind of like spray your club, see where you're hitting it in the club. Just try and get better feeling with the club overall as well, but definitely knowing your club yardage is going to help you big time. It's going to help you improve your score as well. So the next tip I definitely recommend, guys, this is very highly underrated and people don't understand this here. This is a real game changer. But whenever you're standing, you're going for a putt, you've lined your ball, everything looks straight with your line aiming at the flag, everything looks perfect, but it's so wrong. It looks perfect, it's not perfect, and I'll show you exactly why it's not perfect. So my ball line from here at the minute is aiming exactly at the flag. My line is aiming exactly at the flag. That's with me standing over it, everything looks perfect. But see, the second I take 10, 15 yards back from the ball, my line is aiming to the right of the flag, and this is where everything changes. So if I'm standing well back here, you'll probably not see me in camera, but if I'm aiming so far back here, my ball is now aiming about 6 yards from that flag. Now I've lined the ball up perfectly in line with the flag. Whenever I'm standing back, my ball is aiming at least 6 yards off the flag. Now if I go back to the other end of the flag, this is where it gets interesting. I can still see my line. My line from the ball is aiming here. Now that would be okay if I was aiming the ball to go out that way for the ball to come back down. That would be perfect, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you exactly what ball alignment does when you're on the green. Don't always just stand over your ball and look down at the ball and think, okay, that's where the line's aiming. Stand a good 10 odd yards back, take a further look away from the ball, and you'll see exactly where the ball's going. This is one that definitely game changed my whole game. It helped me big time. So my ball at the minute is currently aiming here. So I'm going to go back the whole way to the ball, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to now realign the ball to the left. Let's see where it's aiming now. So now it looks very weird. I'm standing back, you probably won't see me on camera, but now my ball looks like it's aiming right at the pin. But whenever I'm standing right here at the ball, it looks like it's aiming left of the pin. It's a complete game changer. Definitely take that extra little bit of time, stand away from the ball, and you'll see where the ball is actually lying, where it's aiming. It's crazy. So from this line, this angle, I can see the line on the ball, and the ball is aiming here, on line with the flag. Take a little bit of time when you're on the greens, guys. It really will help your short game, it'll help your putting, and definitely something I recommend. Take a little bit of time and patience when you're putting. It'll definitely lower your score for sure. It's definitely something that's helped me a lot. I used to do a lot of 3-4 putts, and that's probably one of the common reasons why I was 3 and 4 putting on the greens. So take time in the greens, triple check your alignments if you have to, but align on the ball. And yeah, I hope this one really helps you, because that one really helped me a lot on the greens. So hope this one helps. So the next tip, I think this one is massive. It's just like the shot over the bunker, and this is this will seriously help improve your game. A lot of high handicappers, they'll go for their wedge and they'll think all I need to do is just get it close and right side the green, it should come out nicely. I've got a wedge in hand, there's not much can go wrong. But if you're standing over your ball and your shaft is basically even straight or it's slightly leaned back, when you go to hit that, there's only one thing that does. That ball goes 100 yards towards a pin, across the green, and possibly into whatever's behind the green. So make sure when you're standing over the ball, if you do tend to use a wedge, which I probably wouldn't use, I would use an iron in this case, but if you do tend to use a wedge, just make sure you lean that shaft towards your left knee, put it on the toe a little bit more, the ball more or less down towards the toe, and just a nice little putting stroke. That will hopefully let the ball pop up and you'll not fin it. So if that's only if you're using a wedge, I wouldn't use a wedge in this situation. What I would tend to use is a 9-iron. 9-iron is my friend in these shots. So 9-iron is definitely my friend in these shots, obviously depending on where the ball is lying. So all you want to do here is a nice putting stroke with your 9-iron. What will happen here is the ball will just roll out nicely, and you will get a bit of roll, a bit more roll with a 9-iron, a little bit more roll of an 8-iron as well. So the ball is kind of 50-50 in the rough. Putting stroke this would just be nice. That's all you need for this kind of shot, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. As I said, the ball will roll out, guys, and that's probably going to put me about 3 feet away from the pin. So it's definitely a shot I recommend. A wedge, you're probably going to put it here if you duff it. If you fin it, it's going over them bushes, probably through them. Around the greens, don't be scared to use a 9-iron, just do a putting stroke 9-iron. But maybe even a little bit more than the putting stroke. Try out the 9-iron, 8-iron, maybe even a 7-iron putting stroke. But stay away from the wedges if you want to try and lower your score. That's one of the things I had to learn.